Sharma has given an introduction about me. I retired way back on 30th April 1980. I don't know whether there is anybody who retired who was born after that date amongst you. 30th April 1984. With date of birth after that date. Is there anybody? So, it is quite a long period, 27 years since I retired. So, I can share my experience with you, give a broad survey of what the rate of funding of projects is. And it is not a structured talk or anything, but I will take you generally in the field of investment on railways and funding arrangements. As a general rule, I would say that funding has followed the development of economic policy, ideology relating to economic policy, development policy. In the beginning, it was laissez-faire. That meant the government, the state should have nothing to do with business, it should be left in the private hands. At that time, at that stage, railway development was expected to be done by the private sector. This was around the 18th century. Then came the period during which because of the inefficiencies, it was thought that the government should take over everything. And that continued for some time. Then came the period during which, because of the inefficiencies of the bureaucracy, the political interference and so on, the railways started going down. In a matter of fact, all of the development work started going down, and therefore, it went round to the other stage of having to get the private sector into it. So, from private laissez-faire to government interference, government ownership, government management, etc., again back to private participation, private ownership and management. I think lead was given by the UK during Mrs. Thatcher's time. Railways are also privatized in some of the countries, and it was not much of a success story. Quite a lot of problems arose. My own conclusion is, or view is, that so long as the core functions of the railways are left in government hands and other activities are privatized, it will be a workable arrangement. But private money would come in only if there is quick profit and sizable profit. Without a profit motive, private sector cannot be lured into making investments in an organization like the railways. As far as Indian Railways are concerned, the first proposal was made somewhere in 1844 by the quoted directors of the East India Company to their bosses in UK. It did not materialize. The first railway line came into existence between Thetford kilometer stretch line in 1853. This was a quarter of a century after the first railway line started operating in UK. Then I think UK was followed by USA, France, Germany and other countries. We came in at 1853. Now, the arrangement at the time was that joint stock companies in UK would be registered and they would raise the funds necessary for investment on Indian Railways. The initial response was very good. Early railways started paying, so there was enough attraction for the private sector to come in. But this lasted a very short period. After the first flush, railways started losing money. Therefore, the shareholder interest also disappeared. and people started refusing. They were not interested in making further investment. So government had to step in, and I think there was a beautiful note by Lord Dalhousie, who was the architect of Indian Railways. I would say he gets the lion's share of credit for introducing railways in India. He said that it is none of the business of the government to do this, and therefore private sector should come in. But it has failed. Private sector has failed. There is no adequate investment is not coming from the private sector. Therefore, state will have to do, and we will have to guarantee some sort of an interest rate for the railway, which will be equivalent to what the government would pay if they were borrowing directly. Then from 1869 onwards, the railways, the state started investing in railways almost entirely. But a little later, there was a famine in the country, and then famine commissioner said, no, you will need another 8,000 kilometers of line to protect India from famine conditions later on, which was beyond the capacity of the state to find. So again, we had to go back to the private sector, then started the sort of a joint ownership, participation. What you call today, we are talking of this PPP, public-private participation. But it was in existence even in those days. At the time of, we had what is known as the guaranteed railway system. Private sector would put in the money, but the government would give guaranteed interest and also a predetermined exchange rate for making remittances. This went on for some time, but this had some inherent disadvantages. The incentive for making economy or reducing the investment cost, etc., was taken away. And it was mortgaging the future generations, because we are loading on with very heavy liabilities to them. And there were complaints in the British Parliament saying that these private companies were gold-plating the railways and making a lot of money because they were not adopting any economy measures. Then the terms were modified, and some modified guaranteed system was introduced. In between, they tried a system of subsidy. Instead of giving guaranteed interest, they said we give them land free of cost and also give a subsidy to make up for the loss they incur in the running of the train. But this was a total failure. So then went back to the guarantee system, which they modified. It came as a modified guarantee system. Then we have the district authorities, corporations, like what you call municipal corporations today. We have the district boards. They came into the picture. I think the one line which was built by the district board was the Tanjore railway and Tanjore district board railway. But this lasted only very short time. 1923-24, the Accord Committee said that you should not be all of them should be nationalized. So that had only a very short life. But then we have the princely states. Nizam State Railway, Mysore State Railway, all these were built by the princely states for two reasons. One, they considered it as a prestige, out of prestige considerations. The other was security considerations. So we had the biggest of them was the Nizam State Railway, which was more or less comparable with the Indian State Railways, Indian Railways. But there again, and then Polkar Railways, these had very difficult terms. of making, having to pay interest to them, the capital investors, plus a share in the profit, and all sorts of things. So, but amongst the states themselves, put in a lot of investment, and I think there were about 12,000 kilometers of railway line when the railway is completely nationalized. So at the time of, I think 1944 or so, the nationalization started. 1924, nationalization started, and it took about 3-4 decades for the nationalization to be completed. And at the time of independence, there were 44 companies which were consolidated into 6 zones, railway zones, which have now become 16 zones. We have gone back a bit.